At the family dinner, my father cleared his throat like he was announcing good news. You can take the guest room. Or move out. Your choice. My fork stopped midair. For a second, I thought I heard wrong. Then my sister laughed under her breath and kept eating like this was just another joke about me. Mom didn't even look up. Your cousin is coming next month. We need your room. My room. The one I helped repaint. The one I paid bills for when Dad's shop closed. I swallowed slowly. That's sudden. Dad finally looked at me, tired but cold. You're 28, still figuring life out. This house isn't a hotel. My sister smirked. Guest room is generous. Honestly. Everyone chuckled. They were waiting for me to explode. Waiting for me to prove what they already believed, that I was weak, emotional, useless, someone with no options. I folded my napkin carefully. Inside, something became very clear. People don't show respect when you help them quietly. They show truth when they think you need them. Mom added softly, we're doing this for your own good. I almost smiled. For years, I had paid quietly, fixed things quietly, supported them quietly, and now they spoke like I was a burden they were finally brave enough to drop. But I didn't remind them. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just nodded. Okay. Dad looked relieved. My sister looked proud. Mom looked satisfied. They thought silence meant surrender. After dinner, I washed my plate, dried it, put it back exactly where it always was. Then I went to my room and packed one small bag. Not clothes, not memories, just documents. The house was loud behind me, TV noise, laughter, plates clinking. No one noticed when I walked to the door. No one stopped me. At the gate, I paused for 1 second, not angry, not hurt, just clear. They thought they had won. They had no idea what I was about to do next. The first night after I left, I didn't call anyone. Not friends. Not relatives. Not even them. I booked a cheap room near the bus stand, the kind where the fan makes more noise than wind. I slept on my documents like they were pillows. In the morning, I opened my notebook and wrote one line. No drama, only progress. I stopped explaining myself to people who had already decided who I was. Days became routine. Morning work, night learning, repeat. I took extra shifts, learned skills online, saved every rupee like it was oxygen. I ate simple food, walked instead of riding, stayed quiet instead of complaining. No one saw the grind. No one heard the doubt. No one knew how many times I almost gave up. Meanwhile, news from home still reached me. My sister posted pictures of shopping sprees and new furniture. Dad borrowed money to renovate the house for guests who never came. Mom kept telling relatives he left on his own. We gave him options. Options. I smiled when I heard that word, because while they were explaining my absence, I was building my future. Slowly, something changed. My work started getting noticed. A small project turned into a bigger one. Someone recommended me to someone else. Payments became steady, then better. I didn't post about it. I didn't brag. I didn't tell them. I just kept going. One evening, an old family friend called me by mistake. He sounded shocked. Wait, you're working with that company now? That contract is huge. I said calmly, just doing my job. A week later, my cousin messaged me asking for advice about work. Another relative asked if I could help with paperwork. People who never called before suddenly remembered my number. I stayed polite, short, quiet. Back home, things weren't as smooth. Dad's loan payments got heavy. The renovation cost more than expected. My sister's business idea failed. The guest who needed my room canceled at the last moment. The guest room stayed empty. No one told me directly, but I heard enough. Still, I didn't react. I didn't send money. I didn't say, I told you so. I just focused on building something solid enough that no one could ever push me out again. Then one afternoon, I received a call from a number I recognized. Dad. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times. When I picked up, his voice sounded different. Careful. Beta, we need to talk. For a moment, the truth stood right at the door, but I wasn't ready to open it yet. They were still talking about me. I was already far ahead of them. A month later, Mom called again. Come for dinner, she said softly. Just once. I went. Same table, same plates, same people. But the silence felt different. Dad kept clearing his throat. My sister wouldn't meet my eyes. Mom poured tea like her hands were shaking. Finally, Dad said, We heard about your work, about the contract, about the new place you bought. I nodded. No pride, no anger, just calm. My sister whispered, Why didn't you tell us? I looked at her gently. You were busy deciding where I should sleep. No one spoke after that. Dad's voice cracked. We made a mistake. You can come back. Your room is still yours. I smiled a little. I know, I said, but I already have my own home now. Mom wiped her eyes. We were worried. We thought you needed us. I shook my head softly. I needed respect. Silence filled the room again. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't remind them of every bill I paid. Didn't list every insult. I just stood up, thanked Mom for dinner, and walked to the door. Dad said quietly, We're proud of you. I paused, then said the only thing that mattered. I was never weak. I was just quiet. And as I stepped out, I finally understood something simple and permanent. They thought I was weak because I was silent. They didn't know I was busy becoming strong. After that dinner, things changed, but not the way they expected. Mom started calling every morning. Small talks, careful voice, asking about my health, my food, my work. Dad sent messages he had never sent before. Simple things like drive safe or proud of you. My sister suddenly wanted advice, business ideas, job contacts. You're smart with these things, she said, the same person who once laughed when I spoke. I listened. I stayed polite, but I stayed distant because respect that comes after success isn't the same as respect that exists during struggle. One evening, Dad asked quietly, Beta, will you move back? The house feels empty. I looked around my small apartment. Plain walls, one table, one chair, peace everywhere. For the first time in my life, no one was deciding my place at the table. I'm okay here, I said gently. There was a long silence on the phone. Not angry, just understanding, late understanding. A week later, I visited again. Mom had kept my old room exactly the same. Same curtains, same paint I chose years ago, like they were trying to erase what happened. But I didn't go inside. I stood at the door and smiled. It's nice, I said. Dad lowered his eyes. He knew. Some doors don't close loudly. They just stop opening the same way. Before leaving, Mom held my hand and whispered, We didn't realize how strong you were. I squeezed her hand softly. You didn't need to. I just needed to realize it myself. I walked out calmly, not with anger, not with pride, just with clarity. Because sometimes the quietest goodbye is the one people remember the longest. They still call me Beta with softer voices now. I answer kindly, but I don't go back to old roles. Some respect arrives late, but it still teaches something. I didn't lose a room. I found my worth. Silence was my shield, patience my strength, and self-respect became my permanent home.